You're listening to the Culips English Podcast. To download the study guide for this episode, which includes the transcript, detailed vocabulary explanations, real-world examples, and a quiz, visit our website, culips.com. CULIPS.com. Hey everybody, my name is Andrew.
And my name is Morag.
And you're listening to Culips. Hey Morag, how's it going?
Pretty well, Andrew. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well as well. Morag, today we're going to do a Chatterbox episode, and this is our series where we have a conversation about an interesting topic, and we let all of our listeners listen in. Today we're going to talk about patriotism. Patriotism. But just before we get into it, I would like to let all of our listeners know that there is a study guide for this episode. So guys, if you want to study along with us today, all you have to do is visit our website, culips.com, and download that study guide. So I think we should start this episode by defining patriotism and what patriotism is. Morag, what comes to mind when you think of this idea, patriotism?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of patriotism is flags, actually.
Flags.
And the interest in displaying your country's flag, whether you are in that country or abroad.
So simply, we could define patriotism as love for your country. If you really love the country that you're from, then you are patriotic, right?
Yeah, if you're devoted to your country too, if you want to support your country and the other people in it. Canadians aren't very patriotic, though.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to talk about. And I thought it would be super fascinating to see how you feel, Morag, and see if it's similar to me. Because to be honest with you, I think I'm a terrible patriot and I'm not patriotic at all.
I would generally agree, at least not compared to our neighbors down south.
Yes.
For our listeners who aren't aware, it's reasonably common in the United States to see a lot of American flags, people with American stuff, memorabilia, it's wearing their pride for their country physically and on their things is quite common. In Canada, you do not see people wandering around in Canadian flag shirts. Like it's just not something we do. We don't have the outward appearance of it. We also don't tend to fly flags at our homes like many Americans.
Not very often, no.
Not very often, no, but many Americans do. But we're also quite proud of our country in a lot of ways compared to the Americans as well, such as our universal health care and cheaper education. So there are things that I would say most Canadians would be very proud of, but it's not the banner of Canada, period,
Right. From my perspective, when I think of patriotism, I think my country is the best. I'm the best. I'm from the best country. And I think Canadians, although we can be proud of our country, I don't think we think it's the best. I think we think it's pretty good, you know, but there is always room for improvement. I'm quite critical of my country. I think there's a lot of great things about Canada, but by no means is it a perfect country at all. There's a lot of problems in Canada that I would like to see solved. I guess this is my take on patriotism. You know, I love Canada. I think it's a great country, but I don't have this desire to brag about it and say it's the best at anything, really.
I would bet that that's partly a symptom of the fact that we are a colony.
Could be.
And that we are culturally, in a lot of ways, colonized by the United States. Again, for our listeners who don't know, we're for a long time an actual colony of the UK. So we have never been the best because there's always been someone else dictating and or controlling part of what we do or our culture. I think it would be kind of insane to say that you were the best under those circumstances. I wonder if other ex-colonial countries are similar.
Yeah, I don't know if they would say we're the best, but I think they would be quite patriotic, I think. Countries that regain their freedom after colonization, probably extra patriotic, maybe even.
That's a good point.
Ultra patriotic, yeah. I'm thinking of Korea, where I live now, and I would say that Korea is a very patriotic country and has a colonial history of being colonized by Japan, and that's a major aspect of Korean patriotism is this independence from Japan and being an independent country. Even now, even though this was a long time ago, it's still quite strong. So I don't know. To answer your question, it's a very complicated issue, I think.
It's a very good point. I don't think that this is a simple concept.
So, Morag, I didn't hear your opinion. Are you a patriotic person?
I think I'm becoming more patriotic the older I get, but it's still not at all very truly patriotic. Yeah, I like my country. I don't want to leave it for practical reasons. But I definitely don't think that it is the greatest place. Nope.
Yeah, so listeners, as you can tell, us Canadians, we have a bit of a wishy-washy sense of patriotism. It's not very strong. However, I think not everybody feels this way.
Oh, no.
I think there are definitely some people who are much stronger in their support of Canada, especially like the older generation, my parents' generation. They're probably more patriotic than I am.
You know, I would actually go out and say that we, at least in the North American English-speaking world, make some of the best comedians and musicians and artists. I'm pretty sure that I'm comfortable saying that we are the best at creating strange artistic minds that go down to the States. There we go. Yeah, the best.
It's true. There are some things that we should be proud of as Canadians. But I think we just have more of an open mind about this idea. It's not just a ingrained Canada is the best, of course, belief. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you're trying to say. I think that one of the most interesting things about, or difficult things about the Canadian national identity, though, is that what we're just saying comes with a little bit of superiority as well.
Mm-hmm. It's very smug, isn't it?
It's very smug. It's like, oh, well, we don't think we're the best because that would be that would be ridiculous and full of yourself. We just, we know we're pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that smugness is actually part of Canadian patriotism. It's an interesting question. One that we will not solve here.
One final question for you today, Morag.
Yes.
When you think of the most patriotic country, what country pops into your head?
It's still the States. It's still the States. I think but that's just purely because of proximity. I see their patriotism the most.
I think of the USA as well. I think because in the USA, it's like a badge of honor if you're a patriot. In politics, politicians will say, vote for me, I'm a patriot, I fought in the Vietnamese War or something. And there's this idea of the patriot that's really strong in American politics. So I think that's why it comes to mind for me as well.
It's funny, for me, it comes to mind because you will actually hear crowds going, USA, USA.
Yeah.
and then I remembered that you actually get that with Australia as well. But they've got like Aussie, 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 oi, 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 that stuff, right?
Right.
So,
I mean,
if you're talking about purely chanting crowds, maybe I should revisit this.
I remember that I visited the USA in October of 2001. So just a couple of weeks after September 11. And I was just blown away by how many American flags were all over the place. Everywhere, every house, every car had a bumper sticker. It was just a huge outpouring of patriotism in the USA at that time. And so I think that image has kind of stuck with me and makes me feel like, yeah, the USA is definitely the most patriotic place.
I'd be interested to hear what our listeners think, though.
Yeah, I would be interested as well. Feel free to send us an email to contact@culips.com and let us know your perspective. We would be really interested to find out. Are you a patriotic person? Is there a lot of patriotism in your country? It'd be really cool to compare it with Canada and see what people from around the world think of patriotism. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today, everyone. Thank you for listening. And again, if you want to get the study guide for this episode, which includes a transcript and detailed vocabulary explanations, examples, and lots of other great stuff, just visit our website, culips.com, to download it. And we're on social media as well. We're on Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of your favorite social media platforms. So if you'd like to follow us on social media, just search for the Culips English Podcast and you will certainly find us. We'll be back soon with another new episode. So we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.